Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another update, and also wishing everyone a happy Chinese Lunar New Year. It's technically a 2-week event, but of course we just started that stretch, so hopefully for anyone that celebrates it. But the big idea is that in today's update, I really want to take a visit once again to talk about the fourth stimulus package, and I want to especially also talk a little bit about the child tax credit, because we do have updates about that for anyone that happens to be a family. Now, the really great news is that we do also have another program that's now existing right now for single individuals. So really the great thing I think in today's video is that hopefully there's going to be something for families, and there's also going to be something for single individuals. And I feel it because I also happen to be a single individual, and I know there's been a very disproportional number of programs between things that help families and then things that help single individuals. So I totally feel it right there. I have friends that have families. I have friends that have had families or that had kids since they were teenagers. But the idea is that we have a little bit of everything. And I also maybe want to just talk about what's actually believed to be right now that's going to be released inside of the new upcoming fourth stimulus package, because we don't have the official package yet, but there are programs that are speculated to be inside. So it's going to hopefully make a lot more sense. We're going to get right to it. But as always, real fast, before we begin, consider smashing the like button, because it is always greatly appreciated. And at least we are now talking about something that's more balanced for a lot of different people. Consider subscribing as we hopefully get more information. Of course, you guys can always decide. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, personal thoughts, suggestions, or honestly just really anything. Always great to say hi to new and familiar faces. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So we're going to start by talking a little bit about the child tax credit for anyone that's a family, or that maybe is interested, or maybe at least knows a family, so maybe can share this information with them. But when it comes to the child tax credit, the big idea that's going on right now in Congress is that they're fighting for it. And I think the really big thing is that right now there is a very, very massive battle when it comes to fighting between, for many people that, have been following how many families have been receiving somewhere between $3,000 to $3,600, which kind of acts as a fourth stimulus check in a way, because at the end of the day, it is money that goes inside people's pockets, and it is meant to stimulate the economy. But what's going on in the story right now is that the great news is that there are several people inside of the Senate, especially the Senate Democrats, that are now starting to really be able to compromise about doing this particular program and pleasing, or doing their best at least, to try to do what they can to please Joe Manchin, because of course he is the biggest reason why this entire thing really struggled to approve. And one of the biggest things that Joe Manchin was not happy about within this program was essentially about the fact that he felt this program was really going to be giving money to a lot of people that maybe didn't even necessarily need this money. So the big idea what's happening is that many of the Senate Democrats have now officially come out to express that they are willing to make this program very focused. They are willing to lower the income limit. They are willing to basically increase the requirements to make it so that the people that genuinely really need it can hopefully get that money, as opposed to just giving it to a very wide demographic. So the big idea really is that the great news is that they're not only moving forward, but it's looking even more hopeful now to be able to please all of the people it has to please to be able to approve. I know there was a phase that they actually really, really wanted to make it permanent, but now that the fact that it's ending, hopefully it can at least provide some level of relief, which is better than just totally, completely ending the program. So hopefully it can continue, even if it's very briefly. And I do know actually is that, maybe just for general insight, is that there was a lot of research that came out to say that of the people that actually qualified for it, about 90% of that money actually genuinely did go to things related to helping families, like paying for bills, food, childcare, educations, utilities, everything related, daycare, healthcare, everything related to that. So it did actually end up going to relatively good use. Certainly compared to a lot of the general stimulus programs where, there were a lot of people that maybe spent it on things like I don't know, fun experiences. And obviously, a lot of people genuinely need it, but there were some people that like were at the high income that just made it, that, you know, did use that money for things that they enjoyed. But at the end of the day, it was meant to stimulate the economy, and that really was the huge purpose of it. And I do know is that they also found that it did actually genuinely help reduce child poverty by about 40%. So that is a lot of children that I think are really, really involved inside of this. And I think that that's really the big thing to really be able to share about this. Now, in terms of what are some of the other programs that are inside of this package, or that's speculated, because again, we are waiting for official details, is that it was believed by a lot of people some of the other programs that might potentially be inside are going to be things definitely related to like climate change. So everything related to that. We did talk a little bit about the significance of why this could impact us in a previous video. I'll probably put it at the very end screen on the bottom, so we won't talk too much about that. But other kinds of programs are likely going to be things such as about like healthcare, pandemic testing, trying to make things like healthcare, prescription drugs, medications, services, everything related to that, something that's more affordable. So helping to control the prices, hoping to, and especially because I think the big thing is that that is one of the biggest things I think inside of just really our country in general, that most people do believe is genuinely very expensive. Maybe feel free to share any stories if you guys have anything about just like, you know, the fact about how expensive healthcare can really be in our country. That is one of the things that they're really hoping to help out, especially I know for a lot of older individuals, but really just every age demographic in some way. I do know is that they're also looking to potentially expand universal pre-K. So once again, something to also help out families or certainly kids. And I think the biggest reason why all of these programs that I just mentioned, they feel it's very hopeful, is because they're actually technically programs that Joe Manchin has actually supported before, or certainly is now, it's believed he's going to cave in to potentially now support and really be able to kind of agree with. He definitely agrees with things such as like climate change, and the fact that he agrees with at least some level or some part of it, maybe he can try to compromise on a lot of the other programs. But the big idea is that they're coming much closer to an agreement, and I think that's probably the most important thing. There was a video that I made about this. I believe it's literally just called Manchin Changes His Mind. I'll put it at the very, very end screen to kind of talk all about what's been going on in that world, if you guys just by any chance happen to be interested. And then finally, the last thing that we're probably going to be talking about is going to now be dedicated to anyone that happens to be a single individual. And I totally feel it right there, because I also happen to be a single individual, you know, so I totally feel, you know, Valentine's Day's, you know, coming up. So for a lot of us, we totally feel it right there. Although technically there are actually some benefits to being single, but of course this is not a relationship channel. So to talk more, bouncing back to the actual financial side to things, is that there is actually a program that's going on right now that was actually already approved called the Earned Income Tax Credit. And what this essentially is that it's a program that is really geared towards trying to help people that have a very particularly low income. And the really, really great news about this is that you can actually kind of choose what tax year you want to base this off of. And I believe is that the great news is that if any of the last 3 years, so 2019, 2020, 2021, you made a particularly low amount of income, then what you can do is that how this program works is that it's something that's going to be applied when you guys do your next taxes. And it was especially, I think, something that's starting to, I think it's still relatively low-key. I don't think a lot of people are talking about it now, but it is because it was relatively just started, because the tax season just started. And so when it officially started, which is basically about a week from the release of this video, and will be ongoing for the next, essentially all the way until April, so this video is technically relevant for the next couple of months, they ended up approving a program that technically was already around last year, but was very, very subtle and much smaller. But this year, specifically just for this year, they've now officially expanded that program even greater to allow allow anyone that happens to either be a low-income individual, but especially for anyone that maybe happens to be an individual that sadly did not qualify for any of the family related programs, to now potentially get a tax credit on their next tax report. So I'll probably make a future video because there's a very in-depth explanation to everything about how this works, so maybe consider subscribing. But I really just wanted to put it out there so you guys can kind of know about it. The big idea about how this program works is that it's going to be a way that they're going to give it as a tax credit, so that when you do your next taxes, they're either going to give you now a stimulus check. How much depends on the specific person, but it's going to be priced at something in the $1,000 range. They are either going to give you money as a tax return. So in other words, will essentially act as a fourth stimulus check, because technically the first 3 stimulus checks were actually also tax credits. That's the reason why nobody had to pay taxes on it. The only difference is that they gave it to you ahead of time, whereas this is something that you actually have to physically apply or do within your taxes. But they're either going to give it to you as a refund, or they're going to use it to offset the taxes that you already currently owe. So now you pretty much just owe less taxes. But I think the big idea, what's just maybe the huge takeaway is that at the end of the day, through this program, the big goal is that it's going to make whatever amount of money that's, currently inside your pocket, it's either going to put money inside or take out less money if you do end up having to owe taxes. But the idea is that it's a benefit and a positive when it comes to just financially for, I think, most of us. And I think that's the most important thing. So beyond that that's what I really wanted to share in today's update. So if you guys really found that it's hopefully insightful, maybe consider smashing the like button. If you guys haven't done so, consider subscribing, especially because I do think I want to make a video really diving deep into this. Maybe if it already exists, I'll put it in the description, but of course you guys can check on the channel page. But as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts, suggestions, or anything, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again if you guys made it to the end.